If I saw another day, only to scream into the night. Nothing ever tries to change, even if I want to realize. 'Cause I've been sitting here, same old ways, taking off about the same mistake. Darling, when you go away, it won't be as simple for you.
Yo, guys, It is Old Man G here, RDS here, back again for a, well, I've not done one of these Q&As in a while, but it's coming to the end of the week. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into streaming rhythm, having been busy with life stuff. So, but anyway, got a lot to talk about on this show today. It is late, I apologize. We're starting a bit later because I was quite busy with work. But I guess the main three things that we're going to talk about, for those obviously who are watching, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter on We Unite X, smash the notification button, etc., etc. And shout out to those who'll be watching not live. I think the three main topics we're going to focus on, obviously, is a quicker Q&A. So if those who want to get into the chat, ask away, ask your questions, and we'll get involved. Unfortunately, Tom has still got some family related issues, so he's not going to be on the show today. But by all means, I'll be here to answer any of your questions, football related, non-football related. Let me know. So looking forward to it. Big up those in the chat. I see Daniel Hutchinson and Atonement Man. And like Atonement says, like, share, and subscribe, everyone. I'd appreciate that as well, guys. So I think the first thing I want to get into is, obviously, you can see Glazer Exeter Gym, Sancho, Sheffield United Preview. Those are the three main areas on top of the on top of any Q&A. The main thing really is well, the United stand, actually, because there's been reports coming out that with obviously Sir Jim looking like he's going to get 25% stake. There's been a lot of talk about how it's going to work. Is Sir Jim Ratcliffe going to actually get a stake in the club? You know, in terms of, is he going to have sporting control or not? And latest reports were suggesting that Ratcliffe would be, you know, as part of almost like a sporting direct group alongside Joel Glazer and a guy called Bradshaw, I think it is. And of course, naturally, a lot of people weren't happy with that. You know, the fact that the Glazers would still have a direct control of sporting development. You know, it's almost like advantage Glazers. And for anyone thinking, oh yes, you know, Radcliffe's going to come in, and somehow now, you know, the sporting side of the football club is going to change, things are going to improve, etc., etc. There's a few doubts as to whether that is actually going to be the case if there is direct Glazer involvement. Essentially, how much power is Joe Glazer going to have, and how much power is Sir Jim Ratcliffe really going to have, even though he's effectively given almost 2 billion in terms of investment as a minority shareholder? Now, this is actually coming from the United Stand, actually, and hopefully people can look at this. I'm going to see if I can just maximize it because it's on Twitter, and they shared this. It must have been just about well, it was actually a few hours ago, but I thought it'd be just good to dissect it, and hopefully everyone can see that now. So, and this is my first time reading it as well, actually. So, but this is the United Stand. You know, yes, they're one of the biggest fan channels out there. It's this is a kind of a statement from the, or at least from a statement they've got sort of from the Sir Jim camp. And essentially what they've been told is that everything about Sir Jim's career and life to date tells you that he is not someone who has outside partners or other people telling him what to do. So I think that first statement is ultimately in response to the obviously there's been a lot of talk and speculation on Twitter, on social media, in the media, and then some about how much control Sir Jim is going to have. Obviously, they must have noticed the fact that certain fans were not particularly happy with the acquisition and whether or not what Sir Jim could even do in the first instance. So the fact that, you know, they're saying that he's not about to partners telling people to do implies that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to be in charge, or at least wants to be in charge of the sporting matters at Manchester United. Ineos has always been a privately held company which he owns 60% of, and his two longtime business partners and close friends own the other 40% between them. There are no outside shareholders, and he has complete control, despite the fact he could float it on the stock market and potentially make tens and hundreds of billions for it. The United stand are told Sir Jim does this because he wants to run the things he owns in the way he wants to run them. If a deal happens, it'll be because it is the only deal on the table that gives Sir Jim control in the way that he wants it. So let's pause there for a second before we read the other stuff. So again, sort of flying back in the face of this notion that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, from what we've been told, is going to be a lackey for the Glazers. I think it's important to also highlight the fact that clearly, because I think there was a lot of people that, almost alluded to the fact that, oh, Sir Jim is going to be using Manchester United as a cash cow, just as a cash cow, to make money from him, exploit, etc. No, that's what the Glazers want. That's what the Glazers want. The Glazers want to use Manchester United as a cash cow. Absolutely, 100%, definitely. But you've got to understand, like, Sir Jim the Glazers don't actually have, okay, yes, they've got their franchise in the States, but they don't actually have actual businesses or built actual businesses. And the reality is that Ineos is worth far more than the Glazer franchises. Way, way, way more. So I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that, oh, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is just going to come and use United for money as a money-making exercise when he owns a company that generates can potentially be sold for hundreds of billions and generates, I think we're going to go into this, here, Ineos has an annual turnover of 65 billion. United's annual turnover is around about 600 million. So it's not even close. So it doesn't make sense for people to say, oh, so Jim is going to just use Manchester for a cash cow when Ineos makes 65 billion a year in the annual turnover. Him, I mean, obviously I don't know his complete and total intentions, but for me anyway, it doesn't make sense for you to buy and invest into Manchester United if you're just wanting to just use Manchester United for money. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in my view. Let's have a look. Yeah. So Ineos has an annual turnover of over $65 billion. Manchester United has an annual turnover of around 650 million and a profit of around about 150 million. Now, I don't know how much profit. It doesn't say how much profit, but they have profit, but presumably it'll be in the billions. We make 650 million. So this United could this is the thing, like with the potential of Manchester United could potentially make $1 billion a year. But we just can't because we're run badly right now, So, but the fact they make 650 million just shows the potential, and profit of around 140 million, and it just goes to show how much money we also spend in that's, if you think about it, 140 million annually is not that much. It's not a lot when you consider how much we spend in wages and players' salaries, and also the development needs to be done. So yeah, but you bear that in mind. So Jim could take every single penny of this out of the club, and it would be significantly less than 1% of what Ineos generates. His interest in Manchester United is not about financial gain anyway. It's because it's the club he loves and the city he's from. Unfortunately, a lot of talk in football these days revolves around money. Football is very attractive because it means so much more than that. A source in the football industry reiterated that we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking everyone is attracted to it for financial reasons. I mean, that's difficult. That is difficult to. I mean, Manchester United are the biggest generators of revenue in the Premier League. So of course you're going to have that. I don't know why people wouldn't think that. Personally, it is what it is. The United Sun understands that Sir Jim Michael Ineos hope to be in a position sometime soon to communicate properly with Manchester. And for me, this last one is what's key. This last line is what's key. The communication between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos and the fans. Because I think the biggest issue is throughout the whole process has been the lack of communication, a lack of really knowing what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plans are for Manchester United. That for me has always been the big issue with Jim Ratcliffe as a whole. What is it that you plan to do? What do you plan to do with the debt? What do you plan to do with the stadium? What do you plan to do with the team? What do you plan to do with the training facilities, the youth squad, the women's team, etc., etc.? What do you plan to do with like local investment? What do you plan to actually do, with Manchester United? And we don't know that yet. So the sooner we get some sort of clarity as to what he plans to do and how he plans to achieve it, the better, personally. Because if he has a clear plan, whether it's the footballing structure, whether it's the stadium, all these different sort of things, I think that people will at least begin to start to listen to him because they don't have a choice. Big up Toman, who says club he loves. Didn't he bid for Chelsea? Well, there you go. There you go. So you do kind of think, okay, you bid for Chelsea though, but and you bid for Barcelona and your Chelsea season ticket. So club you loves. So yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure that it's a club. Personally, I think it's a vanity project. I think it's a vanity project. I don't think it has anything to do with loving clubs. He probably loves football. He probably I to put it another way, so Jim Ratcliffe strikes me as someone who, and he's British, obviously, unlike the Americans who couldn't give a crap about football. So I definitely think he loves football. I definitely think he's going to be someone who you're likely to see in the stadiums, like almost like a Bowley figure. Like you're likely to see in the stadiums to observe, to see how things are if he gets in charge. I think that is the case. But I think, like I said, Manchester United is a vanity project, and you could also, and to be fair, in Sir Jim's defense, if Manchester United were on sale the same time that Barcelona and Chelsea were, would he have bid for Chelsea, Barcelona? Probably not. So it's about opportunity as well, So, but I see what you're saying, Atonement. But yeah, I think the sooner this happens, the better. I think the sooner this happens, the better. We're still very much in the dark with what Sir Jim actually wants to do for Manchester United, for the club. We don't know. But if they are going to plan to communicate with fans, I think now I think now you can definitely say that Sheikh Jassim, whatever's in Sheikh Jassim, that's done. That's done. There is no Sheikh Jassim hope. And like I said on the United Forum show that we did on Wednesday, the reality is that I just don't think that I don't know. I don't think that sorry. I don't think that what am I trying to say here? I don't actually think that that Sheikh Jassim or Qatar really, with the way they handled the bid, the way they handled things, I just don't think that they handled it well. Not at all. Not at all. I have Samasi with me in the chat, so I'm going to bring in Samasi. Would be good to hear her thoughts about Sir Jim. Samasi, you there? Oh, Samasi, you there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me at all. That's odd. The chat can hear me, so maybe it's okay. Okay, she can't hear me. Um, right. Maybe we should come back. Also, by the way, guys, this is a Q&A as well. So get your questions in as well. So, in fact, I'll actually probably address some of the questions actually. Daniel says, how much power would director of football get under the gym and Glazers? So many questions in there. We don't know, but obviously the rumors are that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to get Paul Mitchell involved, who was obviously director of football at Monaco. But I think a lot of it comes down to how much control Sir Jim is going to have over sporting affairs. And if this opinion piece is anything to go by, he is going to have more control of sporting affairs. So I would say more so. Question: what about the debts? How long does he before he gets the club outright? 3 years or not at all? Where's the money coming from? Who gets the blame if the wrong funds returned, etc.? So this obviously that the United Sun have obviously said, I think does I think address some of those things. It's clear to me that Ineos are probably going to take on quite a bit of Manchester United's debt, quite a bit. You know, I think it's about 500 million or so, possibly near off the billion, the amount of debt the United are in, which is nothing when you consider what Ineos turns over. So I think that when it comes to the debt, I think that the debt is going to be put on Ineos, who can probably absorb the debt. Unlike the Glazers, who took out loans, I don't think they're going to take out loads of loans for it. And as far as buying the club, I think that's where it gets a bit tricky, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe has valued the club at essentially just under £7.5 billion. But then the question is, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe has control over sporting affairs and brings Manchester United success, does he really need to buy the full club? That's the question. Because if he does have full sporting control, and if Manchester United are restructured and he is successful, then why, and he's not buying Manchester United purely to make money, then why does he need to buy all of the club? So that's
The,
a question.
the question is also, if he succeeded, the valuation of the club is gonna be higher. So has he paid more for the club, or that's also a big question. I have a question. Are the Glazers gonna be on the board for footballing, or is this all gonna be just Sir Jim and his team? On the Glazers are more for the commercial aspect for Manchester United.
So I think that there's talk that like Joel Glazer, so that's one of the Glazer brothers, might be involved in sporting affairs. The other one, Avram, no,
Oh my
and
god.
the other four aren't really involved at all. So really, it's only just Joel.
This this dude has to let go of Manchester United. The fans don't want it. Nobody wants it. We cannot let it go. My god. If I have been a Manchester United fan, I've been so mad. The whole Qatar thing, I really thought that's gonna be Man United's last chance to go back to where they belong. And the Glazers fucked it up, seriously. I felt sorry for Man United fans. I felt sorry for Man United fans.
It's definitely very, very disappointing. But I do, I, I I hate saying this, but I guess because there's nothing I can do, I do at the very least want to see what Jim Ratcliffe's proposal and what they're going to and what they have to say, what they're going to do about it. Yes, Qatar would have been amazing, much better, but the reason why that is because Qatar were very obvious from the beginning what it was they wanted to do with Manchester United Football Club. We're going to do this. 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 Right now, we don't know what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his team is going to do. Now, if they say in a week, 2 weeks or so, this is what we're going to do, this is our plan, this is how we're going to achieve it, then I think that you'll probably find, because at the end of the day, and as much as I hate to admit it, the reason why we're disappointed as United fans of is because the Qatari option was an option. If the Qatari option was an option, United fans wouldn't be complaining about Sajim.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, okay, this is a new guy who can maybe do something different. He's going to be in charge of sporting, and maybe he might buy the club in a few years' time." That's at least better than the status quo of just having the Glazers all the time. So the disappointment more so comes with the fact that there was a Qatari offer and the Glazers didn't take the Qatari offer, then necessarily Sir Jim Radcliffe is a bad person, etc., etc. You know?
Qatar's not never gonna sponsor Man United on anything ever again
Oh no.
because they have taken Sheikh Yassim for a fool. They
Mm,
said we're gonna sell, and then it turns out they didn't want to sell 100%. They
mm,
just wanted to go the valuation up, and that's why they negotiated with him. So they're taking him for a fool. If I were I hope Sir Jim Ratcliffe knows what the Glazers are. I hope he's not naive about them.
mm. I hope so too. I mean, he said they're good business partners, but I guess I got
Uh,
I guess I got to think that like a guy who's obviously got a company that's worth potentially up to hundreds of billions should at the very least know how to mitigate between these guys. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is that he wouldn't have just invested in Manchester United just for just purely money making reasons, because that doesn't make because as it says in the statement, Ineos has an annual turnover of 65 billion. United's is 605 million. So it doesn't really make any financial sense to
yeah,
buy Manchester United just to make money. Like you're making enough money at Ineos. You don't need to buy Manchester United, which will take more money and investment to make it. So I can accept that this is, whether it's because it's his hometown and he's British, or whether it's just a vanity project. At least I know from that point of view that if he is in charge of the footballing aspect, that he is going to be focused on the footballing reason on footballing decisions. He's not going to be thinking, how much money can we make? How much profit can we be doing? Like, no, like he's not going to be, it's going to be focused purely on football. So that's at least encouraging, because currently the status quo is the current Glazer ownership are focused on that, are saying, we don't have money, we can't do this, we're not interested in getting this Brazilian person or whatever, 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 instead of actually focusing on the future. If we'd had a
yeah.
football someone like Paul Mitchell or something like that, then you might have gotten Caicedo, you might have gotten, Declan Rice, Holland, all these up and coming youngsters for development at the time when United.
Julian Alvarez.
Julian Alvarez, exactly. You might have gotten those players because they weren't expensive, you know, but United at something like, oh, we're not interested. Hierarchy, etc. So if you've got a sport directing change that says, actually, no, we do want to go for these type of players, you know, who knows? Who knows? Let me quickly with some comments here. Hi G, big up Rob in the chat. How can you see this one panning out? Will be interesting to see how much the gym can control. When are you hoping to have Tom back? Will be great to hear from Tom on this. Like I said, Tom, I'm hoping to have him back soon, but he's got some like personal family issues right now. So just giving him some time off to basically sort of deal with that. So it might be I'm not hopefully it's not a mass amount of time. But he just needs a bit of time to just get through that. So yeah, but we'll hopefully we'll be back on soon. Big up Luke in the chat. Yes, I will check up your match reaction after the game, because you guys better beat Chelsea. Is what I'm saying. Luca, you better beat Chelsea. I'm hoping, actually, to be honest, I don't know, because it's
I
actually
hope I hope Chelsea get humiliated like 8-2, 7-0 or something like that.
some destruction. We need to. Although the weather, we've got a really, really bad storms in the UK right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah,
some
I
of these
saw
matches
that.
they might get cancelled. Like even I was looking at Sheffield as well, and it's like flooding all over the place there. So if the storms continue, it's possible that quite a few Premier League games might be cancelled tomorrow,
Oh my.
just due to flooding and just and high storms.
It
So
isn't like we have enough games and enough cars with a lot of games. It's just a mess.
no, I would be very
Appa-
surprised if the Arsenal Chelsea one got suspended. Given in London, there should be so, but some of the other ones where you're able to go to the peripheral places and peripheral towns,
yeah.
potentially, that those might get cancelled.
Did you know there's gonna be apparently Chelsea against Wolf on Christmas Eve?
Chelsea versus Wolves.
On Christmas Eve. Like, it's the Premier League gone crazy on
No, that's
Christmas Eve.
that's not uncommon. Yeah, there was no remember, Smash. There's no winter break in England, so the only
Why?
break. I don't know. That's always been the case. So you have the break is Christmas, and then Christmas Eve you might have one or two games, and then obviously you have Boxing Day
Yeah,
games,
Boxing Day.
all of them, and then you have like New Year's sort of a game space or near to New Year's games. That's how it's
That's
always been.
crazy. No, we
Um,
Germans, we enjoy our Christmas.
I know you
There's
do.
no food for nothing.
I know you do. And Klopp has complained about it. So, and I think they did try and bring in a winter break in. Uh, I think this was pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and then all the schedules, and then the World Cup, and I think they've just basically just sort of scrapped it now. So, which I can bet is annoying. Daniel Hutchinson says, "What do you think Sir Jim needs to get United back to the top?"
I think his main priority should be the structure. First, he has to clear the debt. Then he has to look at the stadium and the training ground. He has renewed that. And then fourth, the structure. I would either Paul Mitchell or Michael Edwards as sporting director,
Mm,
and then have somebody in the youth for the youth team,
mm,
and they coordinate with each other. If
mm,
there are young players that can put in Man United who are good enough, and who is missing in the team right now, who you have to buy. You
mm,
you have to be a long time vision for this team, not no
mm,
for the next year or the a year after that. So for the
mm,
next 5 years, what team are we looking at? What players do we need in which position? I think this is what we need to do,
mm. Yeah, no.
because Man United, they have no long term planning, not at all. And
Mm,
it's always biting them in their butts.
mm. No, I don't, I don't disagree with that at all. So, and on top of that, you obviously got to bear in mind, Daniel, that all the other teams in the Premier League are also, ahead of Manchester United in terms of their projects.
Yeah.
City far ahead, Liverpool obviously far ahead. Just need a few adjustments here. Newcastle now taking strides. Arsenal with their Arteta project, obviously where they need to be. You know, so you know, a lot of these clubs are already finding. So United are playing catch up. You know, with the Spurs, with Big Ange, looking good, and the only thing is only a slip up is Chelsea right now, and even then, really, it's probably due to the injuries that's probably contributed to where they are, where they are. So it's gonna take time,
Like,
but as Samasi said, like it's a combination of financial management, but also structure. So if Sir Jim puts a proper footballing structure in place with directors of footballs that can actually scout proper talent, that can actually be not just not just getting you know like as much I like Casemiro, I like Varane, I like all these players, but at the end of the day, like a lot of Manchester United signs are players that are almost past their prime and putting them on high wages. We did it with Ronaldo, we did it with Casemiro, we did it with Cavani, we did it with doing it for Varane. so many players coming to the squad, and then players that are in the squad who haven't really performed or done that well, giving them new contracts on higher wages. So United's scouting system needs to be much better. And as Samasi said, like the structure of the club needs to improve, and that is going to take time. And that's why, even if Sergio Maka comes in tomorrow, United aren't going to be competing for anything significant for at least not a couple of years still, if things go in the right direction. Tapua says, big up Tapua in the chat. Do you think it would take the Glazers fully leaving United for you guys to go back to being a well-run club on and off the pitch? Potentially, yeah. Because we don't know again how much. I still personally think they're going to have influence in the sporting decisions, even though they say they don't. And also, if they're going to be in control of the finances, then are we still going to get a situation where, much like with what's his name, Ragnick, where they're like, oh hey, you should go for Julian Alvarez in January, and sporting director, everyone agrees of how it should be. We should do this, we should do that, and then it comes to being financially signed off, and it's vetoed. It's like, no, I can't. So at the end of the day, like I will always say, the full sale was the best option. Any remnant of the Glazers being there who ultimately generally don't care about the club. You saw with Newcastle. Newcastle went from Mike Ashley, a guy who only cared about profit and didn't get two craps about the club, to their current ownership, and they're now slapping PSG. So there's your evidence right there. A change in ownership makes a massive difference, especially if the ownership are people who don't really care about making tons of money. They just care about passion and seeing results. It is what it is. Atonement, what place will Manchester finish in the CL? Oh, don't get stuff. We're going to be doing our CL preview on Monday evening, by the way.
You
But
play Copenhagen.
yeah, Copenhagen. Yeah.
You have to beat them badly, so your goal difference is gonna be better.
Well, it's not about. It's about head. It's head to head though.
It's head to head. Oh,
yeah. It's head to head before it gets to. It's head to head before it gets to goal difference.
so
From my understanding of the Champions League groups.
yeah. So Bayern is gonna have to beat Galatasaray for you to have any chance.
Yeah, Bayern will. I suspect Bayern Munich will be. I mean, we should have beaten
Yeah, we're
Galatasaray.
gonna. If Tuchel with this team with Jamal Musiala and Harry Kane losing to Galatasaray with Icardi, he should be sacked for that.
Yeah. I anticipate, because I think as it stands now, if I recall, Bayern have 6 points, Galatasaray will have 4, Copenhagen has 1, United has 0. So United basically need to beat Copenhagen home and away, which is going to be difficult. Well, home should be fine.
They
Copenhagen,
play very defensive, so
exactly.
it's very hard. Like Bayern needed Jamal Musiala with the super goal to beat them. Then after when you have the first goal, then it's get better. But get the first, it's very hard work. We have to attack, and they're very solid defensively. So it's gonna be hard for Man United. It's not gonna be you, especially for players like Rashford who needs space.
At the end of the day, the only way United potentially get through, they have to win the next 3 games. They have to beat Copenhagen home and away. They have to beat Galatasaray away. That's it. If they can't do that, because I think if they do that, then they would, I think, have 9 points. And assuming that Bayern beat Galatasaray twice, Copenhagen would only have 1 point, and Galatasaray would only have 4 points, and then that would probably be enough enough United to qualify on 9 points if they beat
It's
those.
Kobe Manu gonna be back for the UCL games because he's gonna make a huge difference
I
for your
would.
midfield.
It looks like he's fit. I mean, he's going to have to be, because as it stands now, Casemiro is not available because he's injured and or suspended. So the United's midfield options basically in that area are limited. Amrabat's there, Mainu's there, Hannibal's there, and obviously got McTominay, Ericsson, and Bruno and Mount.
Who you
I don't
gonna
go on.
who you gonna play in the midfield then next to? It's gonna be Manu and
I don't know if it'll be Mainu, if I'm honest. I suspect that he'll probably, because Mainu's not played for a while, so I suspect he'll play Amrabat. Now this is where it gets interesting. Because Ten Hag has his obsession with playing Mount and Bruno, but I don't think he's going to play Mount and Bruno in the midfield. So he might play Bruno on the right again, and then play Mount where Bruno would be, and then possibly he might play Hannibal or Ericsson or McTominay. I genuinely don't know how he's going to set up. The midfield is the one area of the part where I have no idea where he's going to start. So, but if it was up to me, I'd play Amrabat, Mainu, and Bruno, and bench Mount.
yeah,
That's what I would.
I can stand Bruno on the right. He's absolute useless there.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, especially when we have Anthony's back. I know Sancho. Sancho's probably not going to play for Manchester United for a while. But the likes of Ahmad and Palestri, because Ahmad, who's quite good, is going to be back, and Palestri's there. So I don't see why you can't play either Ahmad or Palestri on the right, Højlund's in the middle, and then you can play Rashford. Hopefully will kick on now, because Rashford's a confidence player, and now that he's scored his goal for England, it's possible. Rashford's never going to be world class, but Rashford does have patches, where like he's just scoring goal after goal after goal. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that because he scored that goal for England, it's like, all right, okay, I've got my confidence, I can score goals, I can at least start to go like on a goal trend, as it were, until he becomes crap again. So, but hopefully it's the start of that.
Man, Rashford is so confusing. He can be so good for 10 to 15 games and then be so crap again. I can't understand him.
Yeah, no,
It baffles me.
I'm hoping that Rashford I hope he will go down the line of this is the goal scoring Rashford, not the bum Rashford. So Jim talking about a future takeover, has he looked in the mirror? Would he even make it to 2025? Oh, you mean in terms of his age? Well, we'll see. Yeah, the Prem stays chasing the bag. Everyone else, we take like at least 3 weeks off during the winter break. Yeah, exactly. Well, they say it's tradition, but it's a dumb tradition. But that's the nature of the Premier England.
Just cut the teams who can play in the Premier League. How many teams are there in the Premier League? 20?
20 teams, yeah.
Make it 18 and have a winter break. That's it.
There's too much money. There's too much money. That's something. You're right. That'd be ideal, but there's too much money. There is just too much money, unfortunately. Let's quickly move on. Obviously, we talked about Sir Jim, and we'll obviously keep you guys posted. I want to briefly. Well, yes, literally. What do you think the reasons why Sancho? We're literally going to go right there now. We're going to go and talk about Sancho. So I'm just going to
because
quickly.
he's stubborn.
How, in fact, as someone who, well, actually, I'll ask that question in a second to Samasi. So what do you think is the reason as to why Sancho hasn't apologized yet? So, not that. Not that. Where is it? This is it here. So this is actually from the Manchester United Evening News, and it says that Manchester United admit Jadon Sancho from squad photo. Jadon Sancho's days at Manchester United already appeared to be numbered after he accused Erik ten Hag of lying. So Jadon Sancho's been excluded from the Manchester United squad photo for the current season, which is big. I mean, these guys are, injured, injured. They're available. So even these injured players that we've not seen in ages are in a squad photo, but Jadon Sancho is not. United players assembled for a first in-person squad photo since the start of the 2014-15 campaign, but the exiled Sancho was absent from the shoot at the Carrington training complex. It is understood the shoot took place 3 weeks ago. Jadon Sancho has been training separately from his United teammates for the last 5 weeks after he accused manager Ten Hag of lying in a Twitter post, etc. So this apparently shootout took place quite some time ago, 3 weeks, and Sancho's not in it. So I guess in the sense, we knew that was coming. But to go back to Atonement's question as to why is he not apologized? Because, well, there's only two reasons. He genuinely believes that he's in the right and he's not going to back down. He also has people. The second thing is he has people around him that are rising him. And the reality is, and I've said this quite a few times, is that Sancho is in a way in the power position here. Manchester United cannot, despite what people are saying, Manchester United cannot get rid of Jadon Sancho because Jadon Sancho is on 300k plus a week. So if Sancho goes, he's got,
Jesus.
exactly. And this is again goes to the poor planning by Manchester United. So if Sancho goes, he's going to go on. If he goes at all, he's going to go out on loan, and he's going to go out on loan to a club that won't be able to afford his full wages. So Manchester United will have to either pay his wages, or they'll certainly have to pay the majority of his wages. So at the end of the day, and his contract is still good for another, I think, three seasons, I think. So at the end of the
Damn.
day, much like Kane, etc., Sancho isn't going anywhere. Because much like Neymar, Pogba, and all these men that were on high wages, Ronaldo even, most clubs can't afford to pay that money. And on top of that, Sancho hasn't really done anything. His value has obviously been depreciating based on his behavior, based on his performance. Jadon Sancho would not go for, if we were to say, oh, who's going to put in a bid for him? Jadon Sancho's not going to go for 70 million. He might go for 40, 45, but not 70, 75 million, let alone the wages he's on. So,
Yeah.
in a sense, Sancho, at least right now, I don't mean like when his contract's expired, but at least right now, he's in a power position. Because if he hates Ten Hag, as far as he's concerned, it's like, listen, I'm not going anywhere. So you either send me out on loan and I'll just play my football, go back to Dortmund, etc. You pay the fees, and then I'll then wait it out. If Ten Hag goes and is sacked, I can come back in the squad, do my thing. If he's not, just pay for my loans, at least until my contract runs up, and then take things from there. That's it.
Can I say something
Yeah,
about that?
go on, Massacon.
The I think it's either his stubbornness, or he genuinely thinks he isn't wrong, or it's his ego. He has an inflated ego. I think he has an inflated ego, Sancho. Sancho hasn't really done anything at Man United to think he can go against Ten Hag. If he at least showed up in more games and had really a stand in, for Man United, but he hasn't. So I don't know what Sancho is thinking, or who gives Sancho the advice to go against the manager publicly, but that's all wrong. Sancho is a young player who has talent, and he just chooses wrong all the time right now. He's ruined his career. If he were smart, he would apologize, he would work hard, and try to get in the team. The Euros are in 2024. I don't think he's thinking at all about his national career. And it's actually quite sad because I thought Sancho's gonna really, really be great for Man United, and it all turned bad, and all has turned bad. Sorry.
Hmm. I mean, Tapor says the whole this whole Sancho thing fascinates me so much. All he had to do was put his head down and grind, and the opportunity would eventually came. Exactly, with obviously the Anthony saga, it would have come, but he refuses to prioritize his career. Like, bruh, there's so many players who have been shafted by their coaches, but so many times you just have to swallow your pride and play so that the coach cannot keep ignoring you. Exactly, and then there's pressure from the club and all these things, etc. Because once you put performance on the pitch, you silence critics. Osherman versus Garcia right now, for example, and whether he is in the right or wrong, it would have been it would have buried this whole thing, but he chose violence. And this is the thing. It's like I always go back to the whole Wan-Bissaka situation. When Tenag came in, I got the impression he preferred Dallo over Wan-Bissaka. But then, Dallo got injured. He had to play Wan-Bissaka, and Wan-Bissaka just essentially become first choice since. Because defensively, he's been fantastic, and even going forward, he's been better. He's improved as a player. So I just think it's this kind of this idea that I don't like it because certain players are getting picked over me. Like managers have favorites. Favoritism is not something that's excluded to Ten Hag. Managers have favorites, but at the end of the day, you know, if you play so hard and you work so hard that your manager has no choice, you know, then that puts the manager and the ownership in a difficult position. Or at the very least, it puts you in a situation where like other teams, other clubs, like, well, he's playing really well, but the manager doesn't want him. But he could do something for our team. He could come and play for us. We see the value in this guy. With what he's doing right now, all he's demonstrating, and I've told this to so many people when it comes to professionalism, is that if you were a manager, because this idea that Sancho's technically good, he's a good baller, etc., top clubs will have him. It's like, okay, but if you're Paris, Real Madrid, if you're Tiki at City, Bayern Munich, etc., and you're looking at this scenario, you're not thinking in your mind, right, I really want to get Jadon Sancho. Because you look at his performances at United, they've been average to below average. You're looking at how he's addressing a professional
His
coach,
attitude,
his
yeah.
attitude. So why would you be like, yep, you know what? I want to spend 70 million, 60 million, whatever it is, plus on signing this guy. So at the end of the day, like, you know, it's his career. He's still young, he's still, I think, only 23, so in 3 years' time he'll be in his mid 20s. So there's still time for Savage, and obviously we don't know how long Ten Hag is going to be, and that doesn't mean just results. I mean, when the full takeover happens, it's quite possible that Ineos and Sir Ratcliffe might not get on with Ten Hag either, and might go, you know what, we don't like the direction you're taking things, we're going to sack you. So like I said, I think if Sancho, you're taking a massive risk, just hoping that Ten Hag will leave and will go. But at the end of the day, I can also see how Sancho could be at an advantage here, because his wages at the end they're still going to get paid. Um, he could get a good loan to a Dortmund, for example. And at the end of the day, what's the more likelihood? Ten Hag being sacked in the next 3 years, or Jadon Sancho being sold? I'd argue it's Ten Hag being sacked than Jadon Sancho being sold, personally. Pep Guardiola called Calvin Phillips fat. Ten Hag said he took Casemiro off to play football. Didn't see any Twitter fingers from either of them. Well, I think the biggest thing, I mean, you saw, I mean, I'd argue there's been no greater humiliation than Ten Hag taking the captaincy over Maguire, to be honest. I think that was one of the biggest humiliations, public humiliations. But I think this is what happens when you have player FC, where they're players that people support over the club and the manager. And if you like the player, then it's a problem. If you don't like the player, it's not a problem. Like, yeah, and people didn't like Maguire, so it's like,
United is plagued with that. Martial FC, Rashford FC. What is that?
I don't know. No, no, Samasi. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Rob, on Sancho, it's a shame it's not worked out. He'll probably be sold in January. That's the thing. He's not going to be sold in January, though, Rob. Like, I don't know how he's like, especially if we're now talking about financing. He was bought for 75 million. No club is going to buy him for 75. So unless Manchester United are willing to take a significant loss on him, he's not going
I
to go.
think it's gonna be a loan to
Like it to be
Dortmund, and they're gonna pay the wages for
Yeah,
him.
that's what makes sense. It's likely to be a loan, So I mean, I still remember the amount of times that when Pogba had 2 years, 2, 3 years, whatever it is left, are people saying he's gonna leave, Real Madrid want him, people are gonna buy him, he's not being used at Manchester United, etc. All that stuff happened. At the end of the day, no one put in a bid for poor Pogba, a serious bid anyway for poor Pogba. They didn't. He ran his contract down because at the end of the day, people looked at him Pogba and was like, yeah, talented player, but is he worth the amount in a transfer fee and his wages? No. So run his contract down, went to Juve, obviously got reduced wages, and obviously now what's happening with Paul Pogba. But the point is that a lot of these players, especially, often overvalue themselves. And if they don't care about their careers, like a lot of them do, it's just about the fashion statement, branding, etc. They don't realize how they can basically mess up their careers. Like Pogba's career, for example, is finished. It's done. It's done. It's over. Whereas you can see, players of that similar age group. Like I mean, Salah and Pogba. I think Salah and Pogba are I think Salah's older than Pogba. I think, or maybe they're the same age. You know, and look at him. Look at Salah. So Sancho, I am being a scapegoat. Maguire, Evans, McTominay, Bruno, Rashford, Lindelof, Shaw. Yeah, that's yeah. I'm being scapegoated. Who's scapegoating you? Like, I don't like. That's one of the things when I saw those ones, I'm like, what do you mean that we're being scapegoated? What, like I genuinely didn't. When he put that on his Instagram, I did scapegoated. How? Ten Hag was asked a question, where is Sancho? And he just said, I just didn't think it was good enough for training. How does that
He got
equate to
totally
scapegoat?
in his feelings. Sancho got totally in his feelings. He's buttered.
People, when we lost, no one, when we played it, because that was against Arsenal, no one, when we played against Arsenal, was like, we lost the game because Sancho wasn't playing. And if anything, I watched the game. I remember
Sorry. It sounds funny. We lost again because Sancho was there.
because Sancho wasn't there, we lost the game. No. Like, and actually, when we watched the game, if Garnacho's offside, in quote offside, I still don't think it was offside, but if Garnacho's goal stood, United probably would have gone on and won the game, given the momentum that was there. It's just that we got Lindelof, sorry, Varane and Martinez both went off injured, and then we end up playing with Maguire and Evans at the back, and that obviously went as you would expect. But at the end of the day, like, it's a scapegoat. We lost the game because you're not being scapegoated, bro.
I have a question. When is everybody, the full squad except Sancho back? When is everybody healthy?
Not for some time. Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Malacia are long-term injuries. Hopefully they'll be back by Christmas time, but it's looking like probably they look like they're going to be
Man,
more January.
United are in trouble, man.
Yeah.
Everybody makes is Ten Hag's fault, Ten Hag's fault, but man, he has he has been working with scraps. Everybody is injured. It's it's not even Man United. Every team has this. Reece James, how many times that he get injured?
Yeah.
Even Bayern Munich, we have not 1 week where everybody is fit. Not
Yeah.
1 week. Kimmich is already injured and can't start. Jamal was injured on the start of the season. It's
Yeah.
like I think it's the games. It's too many games because of the World Cup. And now everybody like look at fucking Rugby. He's about to collapse. If he
Yeah.
didn't get the break, he would collapse.
Yeah.
Like Somebody needs to fix that. It's too many games. All these nation leagues, we don't need nations leagues. Fuck nations leagues. I hate it. We need the Euros. We need the World Cup. We need the Copa America. We need the Asia Cup, and that's it. All the other things, we don't need them. The
Hmm.
Club World Cup, we don't need that.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
AFCON, yes. AFCON. All the continental uh, like Euros and so competition, okay. But the other things don't make any sense.
Hmm. No, I don't disagree at all. I think it's just that it's just the people who run football don't
FIFA,
care.
FIFA can okay.
FIFA and UEFA.
The players need to revolt against FIFA. Okay, I had enough with FIFA.
Hmm.
They're so useless.
Tepper says, yeah, true. None is gonna willingly eat those wages, as referring to Sancho. Clubs will lowball loans and try wait for him to run down the deal if he himself doesn't take a pay cut. Yep. Atom says, should Ronaldo be starting for Portugal? As a question. Like I said, this is a Q&A, guys. This is a Q&A. So yeah, get the questions in. Oh dear. If I'm honest, no, he shouldn't. He should be he's a good bench. I think he'd be a good impact player slash bench option, but I just don't know how you can um start a 39-year-old who's playing the Saudi League as your main focal points in a competition. Now, don't get me wrong, against mid-tier teams, it'll be fine. But I think if we're now talking about winning the championship, playing against the Frances, playing against even England. I don't know about Germany because I mean Samasi, I don't
Um,
know about Germany.
yeah, yes, we are on the right. Can I say we are on the right path?
Are you? Please tell me that you're beating USA is now you're
We
saying that
have
you're
beaten
out.
USA. We have beaten USA
Please,
3-1. I think it was. We have
please,
beaten USA.
please don't say on the right just beating USA, man. Samasi, come on. But like that shouldn't, as a German national side, that shouldn't be the standard. We beat USA,
Um,
so now we're good. The standard should be
no,
we're beating
we are.
France, we're beating Netherlands, we're slapping England, we're beating Spain.
Yeah, we
That's
need we need more games for Nagelsmann to really implement his game plan. So we don't have enough. I just hope for a miracle. That's all I want. A miracle. That's what we need.
I mean
Because let's face it, besides we have Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala who are exceptional. But
is Schlotterbeck and Süle still the
oh
defense
my
without
god, but we played against Mexico. And because of Sule, that fat McDonald's pack, we were 2-1 up, and Sule makes such a mistake, and it was 2-2. I was like, I don't want to see Sule anymore. I had enough with him. He's overweight. He's too slow. He always makes mistakes. He's our Maguire, and no trainer can let him go. It's
No,
frustrating.
he's worse than Harry Maguire because at least Harry Maguire plays okay for England, So generally speaking, so like, I've not seen Sule is awful for Dortmund from what I've seen him play, and he's bad for
He,
Germany.
he
Like I don't
doesn't
get
even start
how
for
he's first
he
choice.
doesn't even start for Dortmund. He doesn't
Yeah,
even start for Dortmund. They
yeah.
play with Schlotterbeck and Hummels.
Almost
You know,
now.
Hummels is
You
still
must.
better than Süle.
That's what I'm
Hummels is
saying.
fucking
Like
old.
Hummels is ancient and has retired from international football, and yet he's still starting ahead of Sule. So I don't know. Like I don't know. What happened to Rudiger?
Yeah, he started.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
Süle played as the left back and he can't play as the center back, he can't play as the left back. He's just useless, man. He's just useless.
he's terrible. He's terrible. Martinez long term injury as well. Yep, that's going to be gone for a while. So so no Martinez. no Malacia, no Luke Shaw, no Wan-Bissaka. They're long-term absentees. We have obviously in terms of players coming back, it's mostly younger players. Mainu, Ahmad, for example, is coming back. For example, Reguilon, obviously a lonely fullback, will be back as well in contention. And I'll go to the I think in the next, well, as soon as we've this comes, we'll actually go and preview the Sheffield United game actually, in terms of who's actually going to be starting and what have you, because my goodness, I don't know. I generally don't know what this lineup is going to be. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's have a look. Football eating itself with greed and capitalism, and there's no stopping that right now. If these dudes could have games every day, I swear they would. These FAs, yeah, exactly. If it wasn't against medical advice, Rob, I don't get why we had a load of injuries. Man City don't get many injuries. We should have kept Fred. At least he stayed fit. I mean, I've said this several times to United fans. When people are like, Fred isn't good enough.
No, no, the Man City have a lot of injuries, but they have a bigger squad,
Yeah.
so it doesn't really make a difference. Besides Rodri, who's, let's face it, irreplaceable, everybody can start for Man City. They have like two teams.
I think definitely United have definitely had more injuries than City, and what most teams actually. The beginning of this season has been bad, but you're right. City have all their injuries, but they have a more in-depth squad that that is rotated somewhat regularly and keeps themselves fit. But I also agree with you in that, I've always said several times that the most important attribute to a player is availability, and availability over ability.
Yeah,
Pogba, great ability, but he was injured constantly. So at the end of the day, like, when you're buying players, you're going to play in profile. We bought season, we bought Mount, we bought Amrabat, we bought Hoyland, and we bought who else did we buy? I think we Onana. Okay. And two of those players had already picked up injuries. No, sorry, three. They all did actually. Amrabat did.
yeah.
Um, Hoyland did. Mount did. You
Like
know,
Mount was never injured with Chelsea. He goes to Man United and gets injured.
no. To be fair, he was in his last season. He was out for a bit in last season with Chelsea. Uh,
Really?
yeah, and because he barely played in this final season with
Oh
Chelsea
yeah.
out of injuries. And maybe he wanted to leave, so that he didn't push himself to come back. But the point is that this like this idea of not looking into a player's playing record and paying a certain amount, you get the player, and then boom, you bought three players, and most of them weren't available at the beginning of the season because of injury issues. Hoyland, Amrabat, Mount, etc. So I think when it comes to recruiting as well, that probably comes to it as well. I think City at the very least seem to, and then I think third, there does seem to be an issue with the medical department United, where we're not having a senior head of medicine or whatever it is that's there at United. I don't think that's helped.
I
Question.
always ask
Oh,
myself which medical team is worse, Man United or Barcelona?
Man United definitely. Man United definitely. Man United. I don't know what goes on in Manchester United, to be honest. I really don't know. Let's quickly. I see your question, Tone. Let's just quickly move on. Hopefully everyone can see that. For our formation generator for the Sheffield United preview. Atonement says, have you seen that first and 10th on the PM tour were only separated by 8 points? Yeah. I mean, we've got to remember, only 8 games have been played. It feels longer because we've had 2 international breaks, which I still don't
Yeah.
understand why we've had 2 international breaks when only 8 games have been played.
It,
You know,
I
it
hope it's the last one. Like,
I hope so for a while. There shouldn't be any more international breaks until beginning of next year. So it feels longer than it actually is. Like you just got to remember that there's only been 8 games played, and as you rightfully said, like there's only 8 points between first and 10th. So as much as people 10 actually sat, 10 actually sat, it's like yeah, but it's only 8 points though. 8 points is like eight, and there's 8 points between 10th and first. So all the kind of talk about Ten Hag being sacked already or should be sacked is
I
premature.
think you should judge Ten Hag when everybody is available.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. And it's the same thing when I talk about with Anana as well. It's like I know Anana has not had a good start, and people say bring De Gea back. It's like okay, yes, but De Gea had a fully fit
Short-term memory.
back
Short-term
line.
memory.
He had a fully fit back. He had a fully fit. Pretty much the defense was fit for most of last season. Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw were barely out. Varane, okay, was out maybe a few times, and Martinez was always there. But when Varane was out, you had Lindelof who could come in, or you had Luke Shaw who could come in as centre back, with Malacia playing full back. So De Gea, yes, he got the clean sheets, but it wasn't because of his ability. It was because of the defense. Now we have a situation where we're basically playing makeshift defenders. We're playing the weakest. You've got no Varane, you've got no Martinez, from what I can understand. I think, or maybe Varane might be fit now, but you can't trust him because he'll get injured again. So you're going to have to rely on Maguire and Lindelof, or Evans and Maguire, and then Reguilon and Dallo. And that's just not good enough. That's just not good enough. Right, I come to Rob's thing in a second. So obviously, as we begin to round things up, because I know we've gone for an hour, United are playing well. For now, we're playing Sheffield United. I don't know, like I said, for guys who are not in the UK, it's really, really stormy now. There's a lot of stormy weather, and it's quite possible that the game against Sheffield United gets postponed. So don't be surprised. You heard it here first. If the match is postponed, don't be surprised. So just quickly going from the lineup. So he's not going to drop Onana. So Onana's going to be in goal. Centre back wise,
Who's available?
I need to check. Is Varane fit? Let me check. It's Varane fit. Yeah, Varane is fit. So let's have a look.
So it's gonna be Varane. Martinez is long-term injured. Luke Shaw can't also play. Is Lindelof available?
Lindelof is available, but I have a feeling that he might. If I'm honest, I have a feeling he's going to play Maguire. For 2 reasons. One, because Maguire, whatever you say, he is still good in the air. And Sheffield United will be a bit more of a physical side. And to be fair, he actually didn't do that badly against Brentford at home.
It's Brentford.
Sorry?
It's Brentford, so he should do good.
Oh yeah, but we're playing against Sheffield United, who are even worse than Brentford. So
Yeah.
I think he might, and I think also as well is that at the end of the day, Varane is going to get injured again. So it doesn't make sense to not play Maguire and give him minutes, so that if you need him, which you are probably going to at some point, that he's ready to actually play in game time. So I don't really have a problem with them picking Maguire, because I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the game Varane is injured, and then you don't only have Maguire, Evans, and Lindelof available. So, as far as right back goes, yep, Dallo is available, so Dallo will play right back. Reguilon is back, so Reguilon will come in at left back, which is good because he's played somewhat played okay.
Yeah, he played
Um,
okay. Doesn't make really mistakes, which
mm.
is good.
um, so CDM obviously Casemiro is still in Brazil.
Yeah,
Uh, so it will be Amrabat that I think will come here. Um, now the other midfielder is interesting. As I think Rob was saying, um, I think Scotty will play some more. Erdogan, I think will give him based on his last performance. But the thing is, Scott McTominay played well when he basically
agree though.
was in the box. So I don't know whether he will, and as an impact sub, I don't know whether he'll start Scott McTominay as a holding midfielder because I've always said this: Scott McTominay's best position is um is in just in or just outside the 6 yard box. It's not in midfield.
Oh
When
no, he's
control
terrible.
it's not.
He's terrible in the midfield. I
So
would.
I don't think he's gonna. I even though he came on and was clutch, I don't think he'll play. I don't think he'll play a midfield role. Um, I
I
per sorry, go on.
I
I
would use him as a super sub.
yeah.
If the defense is tired, maybe he can do something.
I personally think he's gonna go Mason Mount and Bruno. Now I don't want him to do this, but I think
Is this a functional midfield? Mount, Amrabat,
no, I don't think it is.
Bruno.
I don't think
I
it
don't
is.
think so. Also,
But I think Ten Hag will think, okay, at Sheffield United, they're going to be difficult to break down. We can probably be a bit more attacking against them. Let's see what happens. And I think he will probably go down the Bruno and Mount because he has to play. From what I know from Ten Hag, it's like he has to play Bruno and Mount together. He has to play Bruno and Mount together. He has to. You know, um, no, whether it's Bruno on the right or them together, he has to. So I have a feeling he will default back to this, um, which makes the right wing interesting. And I think he probably, again, to give confidence, he probably will start Anthony. And then the rest is straightforward. Rashford here, um, who will definitely start, and then Rasmus. No, you can make an argument that Garnacho played well. Garnacho should probably start, but I just think the game against Brentford was quite some time ago, and I just have this feeling that Ten Hag is going to revert to form. So I wouldn't be surprised. Personally, for me, I play either Hannibal or Mainu in the midfield, and then Bruno bench Mount, for example, and play Palestri here, and then play Garnacho. That's what I would do. But I just think that with the front six, because Ten Hag is incredibly stubborn, I think he will revert to form. So don't be surprised if you see this lineup.
yeah, I would start Garnacho
Mm,
instead of Anthony, and I would put Mainu in, even if it's just for half the time.
mm,
I would still put him in, so even at least he gets some game time because you need to get him fit. And
mm,
the defense, I would stay like that. So I just two changes.
mm.
And
Yeah,
and I say Holland. He looks very very good. He
yeah.
looks good with national team. He looks good for Man United.
Mm.
He's a very talented striker.
Mm. He has more ability and technique than I know. People will say I know that like Haaland scores goals, and he does. Haaland scores goals. He does score
Yeah,
goals.
but
I feel like his I feel like Hoyland's technical ability is better than Haaland's.
he has more to his game.
Yeah.
He helps his team more than Haaland.
Mm,
Haaland is like an old school German. I say Haaland is an old school German striker, ne?
closer.
Just in the box, and he's gonna score there. He's
Mm,
gonna score a lot of goals for you, but that's it.
mm,
Holland is more of a new strikers like Lewandowski, more technical ability, plays more with the player,
mm, mm,
can press more, is
mm,
more agile, is
mm,
more agile than yeah.
mm. No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. Is Hoyland injured? I think Ansu play for confidence, like you say, Chi. Ooh, is Hoyland injured? I saw some stuff saying that the San Marino players were trying to get him injured, but I didn't think that he was actually
Yeah,
injured.
yeah. Didn't you see there was a picture? Some
Mm,
San Marino player was kicking him in the
mm,
back.
mm.
Like
Yeah, he was kicked. Yeah, I've seen him being kicked in the back. Um, I don't think he's.
I didn't hear any news that he's injured.
I don't know why they deliberately target him, man. Waste man players, but from just looking, I don't think he's injured. Targeted, yes, but I don't think he was. As far as I'm aware, I don't think he was. He was injured. It's just they were going for his back, and he's always has a back thing. So, but yeah, he looks like he's fine. Right. So we're beginning to round up here. Obviously, guys, thanks so much for tuning into the show. Really, really appreciate it. I will be live tomorrow evening after the game for the match reaction. Um, possibly might be do a watch long. I'm not entirely sure yet, but definitely going to be live for the match reaction. Hopefully, Manchester United win. Hopefully, the game is on. Who knows? But thanks everyone for tuning in. Samasi, thank you so much for keeping me company, getting involved in the show. Really, really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
And yeah, we will see what happens tomorrow. Have a nice day, everyone, and cheers. Peace.
Bye.